On the stage, under a single spotlight, the lead actress delivered the final, emotional lines of the play. From the control booth, a hand hovered over the console, ready for the perfect cue. The male lead knelt under the light, presenting a bouquet in a climactic gesture of love. The lighting technician Jinwoo remained focused, ensuring every scene was perfectly illuminated. As the story reached its conclusion, the two leads shared a final, passionate embrace under the glow he created. The sound of thunderous applause filled the theater, marking the end of a successful closing night. Jinwoo finally allowed himself a moment to breathe, a sense of relief washing over him. Later, the entire crew gathered at a bustling restaurant to celebrate their hard work. They raised their glasses high, toasting to the show's success. One of his colleagues turned to Jinwoo, specifically praising him for the incredible lighting work. An older crew member, beaming with pride, pulled the young technician into a friendly side hug. He continued to shower Jinwoo with compliments, making the young man a bit flustered. The praise didn't stop there, as another senior chimed in, adding to Jinwoo's embarrassment. Overwhelmed by the attention, Jinwoo ran a hand through his hair, a blush spreading across his face. Suddenly, one of his colleagues leaned in close, his next words catching Jinwoo completely by surprise. The celebratory dinner was lively, but a tense exchange erupted between two of the colleagues at the table. An older man, however, focused his attention on Jinwoo, praising him warmly and ruffling his hair. The kind words and the affectionate gesture made Jinwoo blush, stirring something inside him. He closed his eyes for a moment, savoring a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. Taking a sip of his drink, he let the evening's events sink in. Later, Jinwoo stepped outside for a smoke, trying to downplay the significance of the moment. He told himself it was just the alcohol, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Emotions he thought were long gone were slowly making their way back to the surface. Standing alone at the bus stop, a strange sense of frustration began to build within him. Suddenly, his jacket was pulled over his head from behind, catching him completely off guard. He fumbled for his phone as it began to ring, the screen displaying a familiar name, Kim Woo-young. The sudden, loud ringing startled him, making him jump. Still flustered, Jinwoo answered the call, a cigarette held between his lips. His friend's voice came through with an unexpected and last-minute invitation to go clubbing. Woo-young insisted, trying to convince Jinwoo to break out of his monotonous routine and act his age for once. After a moment of hesitation, Jinwoo listened to his friend's persistent invitation over the phone. He took a slow drag from his cigarette, the smoke curling around his fingers as he weighed his options. But for some reason, today felt different. He made a decision, grinding the cigarette out under his shoe. With his mind made up, he tossed the butt and told his friend he was on his way. He arrived at a club pulsating with energy, the bass shaking the entire building. The overwhelming noise and the sheer number of people immediately made Jinwoo feel out of place. He covered his face, already regretting his decision and wondering why he had even come. Just as he was thinking about leaving, he spotted his friend, Kim Woo-young, calling out to him. Woo-young was in his element, grinning from ear to ear with 2 drinks ready. He enthusiastically pushed a glass into Jinwoo's hand. His friend insisted they had to celebrate the end of Jinwoo's play, but the protagonist still felt uneasy. Deciding to just get it over with, Jinwoo downed the entire drink in one gulp. The strong liquor hit him instantly, catching him completely off guard. He erupted into a coughing fit, unable to handle the sudden burn. The unexpected strength of the drink left him flustered and breathless. His friend, Woo-young, casually beckoned him over, trying to downplay Jinwoo's obvious discomfort. Before we continue, can I tell you something real quick? I realized that a lot of people watch the videos, but don't subscribe to the channel. And sometimes, it makes me wonder if I'm really on the right path. Because I make these videos with genuine care, thinking of those who enjoy these stories as much as I do. So, if you like this type of content, if these stories made you feel something, subscribe to the channel. This helps me much more than you can imagine. And that gives me a reason to keep bringing these stories to you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Truly. Now, continuing the story. The alcohol was already hitting him hard, his vision starting to blur as he struggled to keep his composure. He felt his body losing control, the loud music and the strong drink overwhelming his senses. With his head spinning, Jinwoo tried to push his way through the crowd. Every beat of the music felt like a physical impact, making him more disoriented. But then, his eyes landed on a couple dancing and everything else faded away. He was completely captivated by the man, wondering how a person could be so radiant. The stranger's gaze suddenly shifted, locking onto Jinwoo from across the room. Jinwoo froze. Caught staring, a wave of heat rising to his face. In that instant, it felt as though the world had stopped, with only the two of them existing in the space between the beats. Looking back, Jinwoo would realize he must have completely lost his mind in that moment. The man suddenly closed the distance, pulling the stunned Jinwoo into a kiss. Right there, in the middle of the crowded club, their lips met. Jinwoo was left breathless and confused, wondering if it was the alcohol or the kiss that made his world tilt. The stranger pulled back, his expression unreadable, leaving Jinwoo to wonder just who this man was. The unexpected kiss left Jinwoo completely flustered, his mind unable to process what had just happened. His life hadn't always been this chaotic. In fact, it used to be the complete opposite. He had always been the perfect, obedient son, a model student who did everything by the book. He never missed a day of school and always got good grades, following the path everyone expected of him. But then, one day, out of the blue, he discovered a dream of his own. It wasn't about being the star of the show or even a supporting character. He wanted to step out of the spotlight entirely and take on a role backstage. A new passion had been ignited within him, and the decision to follow it wasn't easy. That choice turned him from the only hope for his family into their biggest disappointment. The weight of their disapproval was a heavy burden to carry, and from that moment on, everything started to go wrong. He had to walk a lonely path, giving up on things others took for granted. The luxury of a social life, let alone a love life, was something he simply couldn't afford. Back in the present, Jinwoo's breath came in ragged gasps as he began to stir. His eyes slowly opened to an unfamiliar ceiling. He found himself in a hotel room with no memory of how he got there. As consciousness returned, a wave of confusion washed over Jinwoo. Then, his eyes snapped open. The memories of the previous night came flooding back, and he was filled with immediate regret. He scrambled out of the bed, his mind in a complete panic. The luxurious hotel room felt suffocating. Without a second thought, Jinwoo grabbed his things and fled, desperate to escape the scene. In his haste, he failed to notice a small piece of paper left on the floor, bearing a name and a phone number. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a different man sat at his desk. He was lost in thought, feeling a strange emptiness that had been lingering for a while. His mind kept drifting back to a recent encounter at a club. He reached for his phone, a flicker of hope mixed with frustration. He scrolled through his contacts, but the one person he wanted to hear from wasn't there. Miles away, Jinwoo tried to erase the night from his memory with a cigarette. He sat alone, overwhelmed by a sense of shame and confusion. He tried to convince himself it was just a mistake, but a small mark on his skin was a constant, nagging reminder. He tried to find some peace in the smoke, but his mind was a storm of regret. But his troubled thoughts were abruptly shattered by a familiar and very loud voice. His friend was fuming, every step a thunderclap of frustration. He'd clearly been searching everywhere. He got right in Jinwoo's face, unleashing a wave of frustration. Jinwoo offered a quiet apology and stood to put out his cigarette, but his friend's rant was far from over. The moment of quiet contemplation was officially over. Later, they arrived at a theater. The quiet of the empty stage, a stark contrast to his friend's earlier outburst. Jinwoo dropped his bag, ready to dive into work and leave his personal troubles behind. It turned out he was called in as an emergency replacement. A colleague explained the situation, handing him the script. The man was immensely relieved, praising Jinwoo for saving the day. But beneath the relief, the pressure of the upcoming show was still visible on his face. Jinwoo accepted the script, the weight of the unexpected responsibility settling in his hands. For now, he could focus on this. Work was a welcome distraction from everything else. While Jinwoo immediately began to study the materials, his friend continued to complain from the sidelines. He settled in, completely unaware that his attempt to escape the previous night was about to fail spectacularly. A colleague confirmed his simple task with Jinwoo, who was handling the lighting controls for the rehearsal. Jinwoo returned his focus to the laptop, getting the system ready. But then, the sound of a door creaking open echoed through the quiet theater. Someone had just walked in. Jinwoo looked up from his console and his expression immediately froze. A group of 3 students entered the stage. led by a man with an imposing presence. The silver-haired student walked with an air of complete self-assurance. From his elevated position, Jinwoo watched the newcomers, wondering why students from the acting department were there. His confusion quickly morphed into shock and utter disbelief. He couldn't believe who he was seeing. His colleague noticed his reaction and explained that the man was Kwon Tae-yong, a sophomore acting major. Down below, Kwon Tae-yong and his friends were already speaking with the stage staff. The sight made Jinwoo incredibly nervous. Just then, Kwon Tae-yong looked up towards the control booth, a faint, knowing smile on his face. Jinwoo's fingers tapped anxiously against the railing, a clear sign of his inner turmoil. His colleague, having finished the brief introduction, walked away, leaving Jinwoo alone to face this unwelcome reunion. A member of the stage crew approached the actors, asking why they were there. Kwon Tae-yong simply smiled, recognizing one of the crew members by name. The staffer, Dongju, was caught off guard by the familiar address. While Taeyong's friends joked around behind him, the actor himself remained focused on the conversation. But the friendly atmosphere vanished the moment the actors explained they were there to rehearse. Dongju reacted with pure disbelief. The two groups faced off. The lighting team couldn't do their job properly with people moving all over the stage. Taeyong casually dismissed their concerns, suggesting they take the issue to student services. The blatant disregard for their schedule was infuriating. Dongju tried to plead their case, stressing that this was their final chance to prepare for the show. But Kwon Tae-yong listened with a condescending calm, as if the crew's problems were beneath him. From high up in the control booth, Jinwoo watched the entire confrontation unfold. He saw his colleague's shoulders slump in defeat, clearly losing the argument. A wave of frustration washed over Jinwoo as he watched his team being pushed around. His passive observation hardened into a sharp, determined glare. This was completely unfair. The lighting team had followed all the rules and booked the stage far in advance. One of the crew members panicked, realizing the actor's presence on stage would ruin their lighting check and force them to work all night. Meanwhile, Jinwoo tried to focus on his notes, attempting to tune out the escalating argument. But then, a shadow fell over his desk, and he felt someone standing right in front of him. He looked up, and a bead of sweat trickled down his face as he saw who it was. Oblivious to the tension, one of the actors celebrated loudly, holding up his gaming console. He cheerfully suggested that if anything went wrong with the show, they could just blame it all on someone named Taeyong. The actor's carefree attitude was a stark contrast to the lighting crew's mounting stress. Jinwoo overheard the conversation, and the mention of Taeyong's name made him look up with a questioning gaze. The pink-haired actor continued gossiping, listing all the reasons why Taeyong was so popular and well-regarded. He described Taeyong as not just incredibly good-looking, but also the son of a powerful executive at KGS Entertainment, a name that made Jinwoo's eyes widen in shock. The protagonist couldn't believe it. Of all the companies, it had to be that one. The actor explained that Taeyong's powerful connections meant he got special treatment from all the professors. He went on, detailing how the family was practically royalty in the musical production world. But after all the praise, the actor leaned in, his tone shifting as he prepared to reveal the one major downside to Taeyong's character. As the gossip continued, Jinwoo listened with a nervous sweat, waiting to hear the big reveal about Taeyong's character. He braced himself, his mind racing with possibilities. But instead of the actor's words, his own memory took over, flashing back to an intimate moment with the very man they were talking about. The sudden recollection sent a wave of heat through him, making his cheeks burn. He tried to focus on his work, scribbling in his notebook to distract himself from the overwhelming memory. Meanwhile, the other two actors had moved on to their own argument, with one of them getting visibly frustrated. The pink-haired actor questioned his friend's presence, completely unaware of the turmoil he'd just caused Jinwoo. Jinwoo tried his best to ignore them, keeping his head down and his pen moving. The three of them sat at the large table, each lost in their own world. Deciding to switch tasks, Jinwoo opened his laptop, hoping the silence would last. A blank screen stared back at him, offering a brief moment of peace. But that peace was shattered when a video call suddenly appeared, and Kwon Tae-yong's face filled the screen. Jinwoo looked at the image of the man he was desperately trying to forget, his expression hardening. He made a silent vow to himself. He would pretend that night never happened and avoid Taeyong for the next 6 months until graduation. At that very moment, elsewhere, Taeyong's friend pointed out the obvious marks on his neck, a clear reminder of the night Jinwoo was so determined to erase. Meanwhile, Kwon Tae-yong was growing desperate. His options for finding the man from that night were dwindling. A message on his phone confirmed his fears. The search had hit a dead end. No one seemed to know who he was. Back at the theater, a voice suddenly called out to Jinwoo. A flustered colleague rushed towards him, looking completely out of breath. The man quickly handed Jinwoo a fresh mask before hurrying off to the rehearsal. As Jinwoo put on the mask and a hat, another colleague questioned his strange disguise. Jinwoo simply replied that he had his reasons. Without another word, Jinwoo turned and quickly walked away. He was determined to remain unseen. With his face concealed, he hoped his simple disguise would be enough to get through the day unnoticed. But just as he was about to blend in, the same colleague called out his name once more. The man handed him a document, a last-minute notice, and Jinwoo's heart sank. He glanced down at the paper, which contained a revised list of cues for the show. He read the notice with growing dread. The blackout timing for the show had been changed. His colleague explained that the stage director would give them a sign, as the blackout was now cued to the main character's kiss. Then, a voice crackled over the radio announcing the start of the final rehearsal. There was no more time to hide. With the rehearsal about to start, Jinwoo pulled on his cap, a final layer to his desperate disguise. He felt a small sense of relief, believing the darkness of the stage would keep him safely hidden from sight. As the announcement came, he moved to the lighting console, his professional duties taking over. Concealed by the mask and cap, he tried to focus solely on the cues, pushing aside his anxiety. The play began, and Jinwoo operated the spotlight, casting a beam onto the stage below. The scene opened with the main actor, Kwon Taeyong, lying on a bed, lost in a somber reflection. Taeyong's character was consumed by the memory of a passionate night with a mysterious woman. He wondered aloud who she could have been, clenching his fist in frustration. The character lamented how she had vanished completely, leaving him with only a fading memory. Up in the booth, Jinwoo listened to the lines, and a cold dread washed over him as he recognized the sentiment. On stage, Taeyong's character confessed his deep yearning, declaring he would do anything just to see her one more time. The actor's performance was filled with a powerful, convincing longing that felt all too real. The words hit Jinwoo hard. The parallels between the play and his own secret encounter were staggering. The scene then flashed back to a lavish ball, revealing the moment the two characters first met. Suddenly, Taeyong's character spotted the woman across the room, his eyes lighting up with recognition. On stage, the woman tried to end things, claiming their night together had been a terrible mistake. But the man's thoughts were consumed by the memory of their intimacy, the feeling of her skin against his. He couldn't let it go, proudly declaring to the world that she was the woman he had loved so passionately. With a confident smile, he reached out, inviting her to come with him once more. She accepted, and he led her away from the prying eyes of the ballroom. His voice was low and intense as he reminded her of the undeniable desire she had shown him that night. He then asked if she could truly pretend that their encounter had never happened. The character urged her to look inside her heart and be honest about what she truly wanted. From the lighting booth, Jinwoo's hand clenched into a tight fist. His heart hammered against his ribs. The lines from the play were echoing his own reality with terrifying precision. He tried to steady himself, his fingers clicking against the control panel. The scene on stage then shifted to a flashback of their passionate night together under the full moon. Taeyong's character spoke of her attempts to run, to hide behind a mask or in the shadows. But a knowing smile played on his lips, confident in the connection they shared. And as the character vowed he would find her every single time, Jinwoo felt a cold dread wash over him. The words from the stage hit him hard, and Jinwoo instinctively clenched his hands together. His face flushed with heat as he pressed the button for the next lighting cue, the scene mirroring his own life too closely. On stage, Taeyong's character made a solemn vow to the woman in his arms, his voice filling the theater. Jinwoo watched, transfixed, as every moment of the play felt like a personal message. He felt completely exposed, even hidden away in the darkness of the control booth. Taeyong's character then smiled, a confident, knowing look that seemed to pierce the shadows. His presence on stage was magnetic, an almost terrifying force that held everyone's attention. And then, the actor looked up, straight towards the booth, and delivered a line that shattered Jinwoo's composure. After the intense rehearsal, the crew began the mundane task of clearing the stage. One of Jinwoo's colleagues started backing up the footage from the performance onto an SSD. The man was audibly confused, questioning Taeyong's unexpected ad-lib during the final scene. Jinwoo kept his head down, hoping to leave without any further conversation. However, his colleague noticed him lingering and told him he could head home, offering to finish up the work. Relieved, Jinwoo bowed politely and quickly made his exit while the technician explained he was just saving the files. Left alone, the colleague settled into his chair to complete the data transfer. Overwhelmed by the events of the day, Jinwoo sat down, trying to process the intense encounter. He couldn't shake the memory of that moment on stage. From the darkness of the control booth, he recalled the actor's piercing gaze. It had felt as if that stare was meant only for him. The thought alone made his hands clench with anxiety. But he tried to rationalize it away. With his face covered, there was no way Taeyong could have possibly recognized him. Once he was sure everyone had left, Jinwoo cautiously made his way out of the theater. He pulled his cap down, determined to remain unseen. His plan was simple: just avoid the actor for the rest of the semester until graduation. He slipped through a side door, finally feeling a sense of escape. A wave of relief washed over him as he told himself everything would be okay. Back in the safety of his apartment, he finally let his guard down. He immediately went to his desk, hoping to lose himself in his work. He focused on the illustration glowing on his laptop screen, a familiar comfort. But then, a dreadful realization struck him. He couldn't avoid Taeyong at all. He had to see him again at the next show. The weight of his realization was crushing, and a single tear escaped. He tried to distract himself by focusing on the script for the next show. But even as he worked, the memory of the actor made him blush. When the day of the performance arrived, the campus was buzzing with anticipation. The theater was already full of fans, all chattering excitedly about Kwon Taeyong. From the control booth high above, Jinwoo's colleague was shocked by the size of the crowd. He exclaimed that he'd never seen so many people show up for a rehearsal. His outburst made the sound operator tremble with nerves, but Jinwoo stayed silent. The lighting technician just pulled his cap down further, hoping to remain unseen. Suddenly, the lights went up and the show began. On stage, Kwon Taeyong was fully immersed in his role, portraying a man in deep turmoil. His powerful acting left the audience completely spellbound. The scene changed, and Taeyong reappeared as a mysterious figure in a masquerade mask. His intense gaze swept over the crowd. Then, his eyes seemed to lock onto one specific spot, the control booth where Jinwoo was hiding. The performance on stage reached its climax, with the masked figure and his partner sharing an intimate moment under the moonlight. But up in the control booth, Jinwoo couldn't watch. He hid his face, overwhelmed by the feeling that he had been seen. After the successful show, the crew gathered at a restaurant to celebrate. One of Jinwoo's colleagues praised him, saying he was a huge reason for their success. Jinwoo tried to play it cool, taking a sip of his beer. He felt a wave of relief, thankful that the actors and the tech crew were seated at separate tables. For a moment, it seemed like he could get through the night unnoticed, just another face in the bustling restaurant. He reasoned with himself, thinking there was no logical way Kwon Taeyong could have recognized him from that distance. He took another drink, trying to wash away the lingering anxiety. But just as he started to relax, a sudden movement caught his attention. It was Kwon Taeyong, walking over with a smile and 2 bottles of soju in hand. Jinwoo froze, his glass still in his hand, as his worst fear walked directly towards him. The actor's smile was bright and friendly, completely oblivious to the panic he was causing. Taeyong stopped right at their table, offering to share a drink with the lighting team. Jinwoo was speechless, his mind racing as he tried to understand what was happening. With all the bottles already on the table, it was clear this was going to be a long night. Jinwoo couldn't help but wonder why Taeyong had left his own friends to come over to their table. As Kwon Taeyong poured him a drink, Jinwoo's heart began to pound uncontrollably in his chest. The actor didn't stop until the large beer glass was filled to the brim. Jinwoo watched in disbelief, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. Taeyong then casually poured a small shot for himself, all while speaking as if he and Jinwoo were the closest of friends. Jinwoo was utterly mortified by the actor's words. He flinched, feeling the weight of everyone's stares. Just as he feared, his colleagues immediately exploded with questions, demanding to know how he knew the famous actor. Trapped and embarrassed, Jinwoo couldn't bring himself to answer. Taeyong, however, seemed to be enjoying the chaos he had created. He gave Jinwoo a playful, knowing smile that made the situation even more unbearable. The actor then held out the massive glass of soju, offering it to the stunned lighting technician. Taeyong's grin was relentless, a clear sign that he was enjoying this far too much. Jinwoo's eyes widened in sheer panic. His colleagues finally noticed the absurdity of the situation, shocked that anyone would be expected to drink that much soju at once. But Taeyong simply held his own small glass, watching and waiting for Jinwoo's next move. But instead of explaining, Jinwoo made a bold move. He snatched the glass right off the table. He immediately started chugging the entire drink, catching Kwon Taeyong completely by surprise. Jinwoo didn't hesitate, determined to down the massive amount of soju in a single go. Taeyong's initial shock quickly turned into a look of deep amusement. The whole situation had started with Taeyong pouring the drink for him. He had done it in front of all their colleagues, intentionally putting Jinwoo on the spot. And now, those same colleagues could only watch in horror, begging him to pace himself. But Jinwoo's grip on the glass only tightened. He was committed. His eyes were filled with a fierce determination to see this through. Taeyong, meanwhile, watched the spectacle with a provocative smile, casually swirling his own drink. The actor's confident stare made Jinwoo flustered, but he refused to back down. The rest of the table was frozen in disbelief, their own food and drinks completely forgotten. With a final, desperate gulp, he finished every last drop. Jinwoo slammed the empty glass down, letting out a heavy sigh. The challenge was met. A satisfied smirk appeared on Taeyong's face as he took a slow sip from his own glass, clearly impressed by the show. The aftermath of the intense drinking session was laid bare on the table. One by one, Jinwoo's colleagues had succumbed until only Kwon Taeyong was left standing. They were all completely passed out from the alcohol. Taeyong calmly observed the scene he had orchestrated, a thoughtful expression on his face. His attention, however, was focused solely on one person. He gave Jinwoo a gentle poke, confirming he was truly unconscious. A soft, satisfied smile appeared on his face as he looked down at the sleeping man. Later that night, the sound of a keypad broke the silence in a modern apartment. Taeyong had brought Jinwoo home with him. As he stood over the bed, he realized this was never just about a drinking game. He had finally found the man he'd been searching for.